And we're live. Welcome to another episode of the Point by Point Tennis Podcast. We are your hosts, Carlos and Jishnu. And today
Hey,
we're going to be
everybody.
talking about the 2023 Wimbledon. We're going to go through the draws and preview some of the favorites, some of the biggest storylines. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what's been happening during the time that we've been off. So we've had some events on the grass. We've learned some information on some of the players that we have some question marks on. So we're going to talk that a little bit today. I think most notably is that Alcaraz and Swiatek, we had a lot of questions about them coming into the grass. And so far, they have looked pretty good, actually.
Positive results.
Positive results. So we're going to go into that to start the show. And then we're going to go and jump into each of the ATP and the WTA draws for Wimbledon. So with that, we can get started.
Let's do it.
How you been, Jish?
Doing well.
You excited about Wimbledon?
I am super excited about Wimbledon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. There's a lot of question marks with some of these players. I think there's a lot of excitement on some of the younger players. Like, we don't really know. There's a lot of uncertainties there.
Right.
But there's also a lot of excitement because some of these players might come out of nowhere. Who knows? I mean, we saw Sinner last year. He didn't really have good grass results, and then he made the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. And we're going to wonder who's going to be that person this year. So I'm excited. But maybe let's talk about briefly before we go into the draw what's happened so far on the grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a few players win titles on both the men and the women. I would say most notably in Halle and in Queens, we had Alcaraz beating Alex de Minaur. We had Bublik, who won the title in Halle, which means actually that he's going to lose first round at Wimbledon, right? Is that that's the thing?
You have to tell listeners the backstory behind this.
What is the backstory behind this? You want to tell listeners?
So I don't remember how many the past years, but
It's been like since 2012, I think.
2012. Since
It's been a while,
2012,
or 2011, something like that. Yeah,
whoever has won Halle, that is not Federer,
correct.
has gone on to lose
In the
the
first round.
first round of Wimbledon.
Yes.
So, granted, Federer's not, in the mix anymore, but
Federer curse.
it could be a Federer curse, right?
It's another Federer curse.
Maybe it's lifted since he's not there anymore.
Maybe.
We'll
Well, we
see.
shall see. We shall see this year.
But the odds of Bublik actually winning based on those stats are kind of slim.
Yeah. I think if somebody's going to beat that, it's going to be Bublik because he does have a pretty good grass game, I would say.
I think he's playing great. Was Tennis TV kept posting his videos as he was in God mode.
And he kind of was, honestly. He was, especially in that match against
There's
Zverev.
not a lot of people that they have mentioned that's been on God mode, and
Yeah.
I guess he was worthy of it.
Alexander Bublik, Wimbledon champion 2023. But
we'll see.
honestly, I mean,
TBD.
he has the game. It's just sometimes his mental part is what. But his volleys were
looks
really
so
solid at net, and in this tournament, he really looked like a proper grass court contender.
He also has a great slice. His backhand is
Mm-hmm.
really nice. I mean, he can hit those crazy drop shots straight off of.
His drop
serve.
shots are great. Yeah,
So, yeah.
he has a lot of variety. The thing with him, a lot of the time, is just the mental part, and also a bit of consistency as well. But the grass courts suit his game so well. I mean, he wants to do damage with that serve, right? So I really was impressed with what I saw from Bublik. And he actually beat a lot of good players. I think he beat it was 4 top 20 players in a row or something like that to win that title, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Sinner that he beat had to retire due to some sort of illness or injury.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Some people are having issues with their health, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even Rybakina.
Yeah, we had
So
Rybakina
we'll talk
as well.
more about that in the draw, but
But it looks like Sinner's going to be recovered, so at
Hopefully,
least
fingers
that's
crossed.
because he
had a great tournament last year.
he had a great tournament last year. He's coming in with some, some people are high on him, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Me included, but
exactly. Yeah. And honestly, I came into this tournament thinking to like lower my Sinner hype because both of us have been very high on Sinner this year. Both of us have predicted him to win a few of the Masters events this year.
Yep.
Hasn't happened yet. And I was like, I'm gonna calm my Sinner predictions down a little bit. But then honestly, I saw his draw in Wimbledon. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I think he has a pretty good shot to do well again based on his draw. But yeah, I think Bublik had such great wins in this tournament, including Sinner, but Rublev as well, Alexander Zverev as well. So really, really good showing from him, and I think he could do some damage at Wimbledon from what I've seen. Another person that really impressed, which has expected to be impressive in all tournaments except on the grass, but also doing it on the grass, is Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah.
What did you think of his showing in this tournament?
I mean, he had a tough opponent in the final. De Minaur has been playing outstanding. I actually thought he was going to win the whole tournament. I was impressed by Carlos Alcaraz. I mean, he's adapted to the grass very quickly.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning this earlier. I think he was playing his way through the tournament. He just got better and better. So, he still looks like his footing is a little, it's not optimized out there.
Yeah.
And I think he has some room for improvement. But the fact that he's so fast already, he can just make up for it, and he has great hands at the net too. So he's a threat. And he has that sort of attack mode tennis, which Federer has had in the past, and he looks up to that. So his game is a big threat. Anyone he plays.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged. Like I don't think. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little worried after that French Open, match against Djokovic that his nerves got in the way. I mean, I think it obviously it physically affected him, and I think, I hope he can work through that, and Wimbledon, even though Wimbledon may have shorter points and may play very fast, it is quite tough on the body. So
yeah,
we'll see how he does.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was super impressed with Alcaraz, and especially with that defeat that he had against Djokovic, that was so deflating, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
he was playing great too.
He was playing great. Yeah, he was playing. He was the favorite in that match. He was actually the betting favorite in that match, which is crazy to think, right?
You're betting.
Well, I'm not betting, but I saw the odds.
Yeah.
And the odds were like pretty much everywhere. He was like a 60-ish% favorite to win that match.
Wow.
And the fact that he lost that and it's such a deflating loss, and the way he came back to the grass and still played with that joy and that freedom.
Yeah.
And honestly, when he started that first match against Rinder Kanesh, he lost his first set. And he looked like a bit of a fish out of water in that match, just not knowing really what to do on the grass. And he eventually found his game, won a tight 3-setter in a tie break. And honestly, he won just pure on talent on that match, but you could see the frailties on the grass. But as the tournament progressed, he really did improve a lot on his movement. The way that he was hitting his ground strokes, he was being more selective than he usually is.
Okay.
And I just love his game for the grass. If he can figure out the movement piece, I love his game on the grass because he wants to attack, and this surface rewards attacking styles.
Yeah.
He has no problems with that low bounce, I think. I think he does pretty well to get to that and handle it. And his slice backhand is already improved a lot. I mean, we've seen Tsitsipas try that slice backhand, and it's a bit of a horror show. Like, he can't get it right. And Alcaraz never uses a slice backhand, and he just started throwing it in for the grass because that's what you do on grass. And it looks great somehow. I mean, the kid is so talented. It's ridiculous. And this is his third title or his third tournament on grass. And he's already won a title. I mean, that's faster than Federer did it. It's faster than Nadal. It's faster than Djokovic on the grass in terms of the number of events before winning a title on that surface. So it just tells you, like, this kid is something special. And I don't think he's there yet in terms of being, like, I wouldn't put him as a favorite to win Wimbledon, but I now would not be surprised if he would win Wimbledon, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Based on what he did. And he just improved a lot. And, you know, his serve has improved so much this year, and the tactics of serve and volley work so well on the grass. Obviously, he has very good feel. So I think it's a good. His style is great for the surface, and he looked great. And actually, on the women's side, so we can transition there. It was very similar to what we saw from Iga, who is another person that we saw last year, having a tremendous year coming in, very similar to Alcaraz, right? Very hyped up and all that. And she was even better in terms of her success last year going into Wimbledon because she had actually won the Grand Slam. Mm-hmm. She had like 37 wins in a row.
Oh, she was on a streak
before she lost in Wimbledon, but she did not look comfortable.
Right. And
neither of Alcaraz and Iga had played any warm-up events last year before going into Wimbledon. And in hindsight, that looked like a mistake, right? So this year they both went in, right? Alcaraz into Queens, Iga into Bad Homburg, and they both looked great. Like they started off slow. Iga started off slow as well. She lost her first set. She actually had to play Tatiana Maria, who made the semifinals of Wimbledon last year. So that was a pretty tough test to start. But then she was able to, in the end, you know, win pretty comfortably. I think she had a bagel in the last set.
Oh, wow.
And from there, she got very comfortable. Now, she retired from the tournament due to some sort of stomach virus or whatever it is, which honestly, I think she's just saving herself. Okay. She looks fine now. She doesn't seem like she's in any type of danger.
You called her?
Huh?
You called her personally?
Yeah. I've been looking at every day her Instagram just to make sure if she's still in good shape, if she's still reading, if she's still happy. Yeah,
good.
She looks good. So one person who does not look good right now is Rybakina. Rybakina really, like, a similar thing, right? She had like a virus or something, but this is the second time that she's had a virus in 3 tournaments, I believe. And I'll tell you this. I initially, spoiler alert, I was going to predict her to win Wimbledon. I changed my pick because I just don't know she's going to be ready physically.
Okay.
And it's sad to see because she had such a great clay season, which is her worst surface, right? And that's where she got her first virus, where she had to retire from the French Open. And, you know, seeing the potential that she had there, seeing the season that she's had so far, this seemed like the tournament for her to get her, you know, first slam of the year. And now I doubt it that she's going to be able to. So that is one of the bigger stories that I thought came out of the women's side. And obviously Iga doing her thing. We also had Madison Keys win a title. What do you think about that?
She's playing great.
Yeah?
I mean, she's blasting the ball.
Yeah. It's the one thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Normal play from her.
Yeah.
I just hope she can keep it up. You know? And maybe she will. I mean, when she's hot, she's hot. You know, she's like really steamrolling people. Yeah. I think she was very impressive. We saw some of her highlights with Coco Gauff, and with the final with Kasakina. And I mean, this is the thing with Keys. She couldn't look like this, right? And especially on a fast surface like this, where she's ultra aggressive. She's hitting
she
her
can,
spots
yeah,
too.
she can hit people off the court. But the question is the consistency. You know, she can't. She's not consistent, so it's hard to. She's a prediction nightmare, pretty much. So, what does this mean for Wimbledon? I'm not really sure, honestly. So, we'll see. We'll see what our predictions, what we did with her. But it's a great result for her. It's the second time she's won Eastbourne.
Yeah.
So she can play on the grass for sure.
What were your thoughts on Cerundolo?
Yes. So Cerundolo, he beat Tommy Paul to win. Was it that same tournament, Eastbourne, right? Yeah, I'm honestly super impressed. I mean, he played that tournament and he had a few moments of scare. I think he was down match point at some point during the tournament. He came back against Mackie McDonald from a pretty big deficit. I want to say in the second set, and was able to win that eventually in 3. He has some good wins. I mean, he also beat Marc-André Hussler, who's a really good fast surface player. And Cerundolo, honestly, you don't think of him too much as a fast court player. Although his best result so far has been at Miami, which is a I would say like a medium speed, leaning to fast hard court. So he can play outside of the clay. Obviously clay is his best surface, but he's not like a clay court specialist in the same way of other Argentinians, right? That we've seen recently. So it's also pretty crazy to think that he's the first Argentinian to win a grass tournament in so many years. Like Nalbandian never did it, Del Potro never did it,
really?
And Cerundolo did it. Like that's crazy to think.
Oh.
So that's a pretty interesting factoid.
That Nalbandian.
Yeah, me neither. Like I saw that stat today, and I was like, "Is that right? That can't be right." Especially Del Potro, because Del Potro was really good at. I mean, I think he reached the Wimbledon semis, right? Once.
I think
so. And he played like that epic match against Djokovic. So, yeah, it's very strange to see Cerundolo being that guy. But credit to him. I mean, he had a good week, and I think he could be a threat. You know, not to win, but to go a little far in his section of the draw. So I can see him putting maybe a few upsets here and there. Unfortunately for Tommy Paul, I think Tommy Paul has a game that is pretty good for this surface. I think, but it looks like he got injured in this match, like a leg injury. So hopefully he can recover in time. That actually changed my predictions a bit. I had Tommy Paul going a little bit further than he actually is now in my bracket, just because of that injury. But we'll see how he recovers. What did you think about Cerundolo's run?
Yeah, I didn't get to catch the matches, but yeah, I mean, from the results, I was surprised.
Yeah, right. Surprised to say the least.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good.
It's like watching, well, not quite as watching Casper Ruud winning a grass title. That would be something. That would
be great, actually. Yeah.
Unless it's a 250, maybe we'll pretend it's clay. But Casper Ruud has other business. He's too busy watching The Weeknd.
Right? Yeah, it was at The Weeknd.
Apparently, he's a huge The Weeknd fan.
Oh yeah.
I think he's gone to like 2 or 3 of his events already, his concerts. So we'll see. We'll see what that helps in terms of motivation. I think there's still gonna be The Weeknd's gonna be touring like throughout Wimbledon in that area.
He's gonna go.
Maybe he's gonna try to be like, okay, I'm gonna try to win as much as I can so I can keep going to the concerts.
That's funny.
So we'll see. But yeah, Casper Ruud has been nowhere near grass court he's been for golf, but not for tennis so far. So no updates for Casper Ruud. I think in terms of other people, before we go into the draw, that were of note, I think Taylor Fritz has gone a little bit down in my stock of players. Going into the grass season, I would have put Taylor Fritz very high up as of contenders. Through the first few weeks of grass, he does not look right. There's something not clicking. And I am worried for him for Wimbledon. He reached the quarterfinal last year. Had that epic match with Rafa that went to 5 sets in the quarterfinals. But I doubt that he's going to repeat that again this year, but we'll see. Maybe he can figure it out in time for Wimbledon. Anything else before we jump into the draws?
No, let's jump in it.
Oh, one more thing, actually.
Oh.
Petra Kvitova.
Oh, gosh.
She did win a title. She did win a title.
My favorite.
In the first week. So I think that's pretty significant.
She played well. Yeah.
She played really well.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that she can do, right? She's
grass,
very good on grass.
Yeah.
She's won Wimbledon a few times, right?
Yeah.
2 times, I think.
Good question. I'm not sure. Let's
fact check on the spot.
Let's find out. Yep, 2 major titles at Wimbledon.
Great.
2011, 2014.
Yeah.
Wow, that seems like ages ago.
Yeah. Sounds right, though, that this would be the surface that she wins them.
Yeah. Oh, she played in Berlin.
Yes.
Yeah.
She beat, was it Ostapenko in the final?
No, it was...
No, Ostapenko won another title. That's what it was. Ostapenko won another tournament on grass. Donna Vekic, yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's good showing for her, and I think that's...
She loves these tie breaks.
Yes, she does. It cements the fact that she is definitely one of the favorites going in. I mean, some of those wins were... I mean, was it Garcia?
Garcia.
Donna Vekic is very good. Alexandrova is a great grass court player. Pliskova is a great grass court player.
It's a tough... She
that was a great... she went through a tough draw.
Yeah.
So I think that's a major storyline as well. Kvitova in great form going into Wimbledon as well.
It's nice to see a stadium named after Steffi Graf.
Yeah, definitely. She's a legend for sure. Okay, anything else before we jump into the draw?
I'm glad you mentioned Kvitova.
Yes, we had to. We had to because she is going to feature in our discussions in the draw.
Sounds good.
Okay,
right.
So let's talk about, you want to start with the men's?
What should we start with? Okay, let's do the men's draw today.
You want to tell our listeners who are the top seeds in the tournaments?
Okay, let's see. Ooh, Wimbledon does these a little differently, huh? They don't have like a section in the
they don't have a good list?
No.
Not very neat? Oh, come on. Okay.
You're putting me on the spot now.
Okay, I got it. I got you. So, top seed, it is not Novak Djokovic. It is Carlos Alcaraz, actually. So, with his title in Queens, he just barely passed Djokovic to be number 1 again. Wow. So, very interesting that Alcaraz is the number 1 player in the world, but Djokovic has won the first 2 slams. Pretty interesting thing there. It's because Djokovic hasn't played a lot.
Yeah, and he missed the whole U.S.,
Yeah.
Sunshine Double.
And Wimbledon didn't have points last year.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now it will. Which is, for listeners, that's pretty important.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting one. So, number 1 seed is Carlos Alcaraz. In his section, the other 4, the top 4 of the 8 seeds are Daniil Medvedev. So he is in the same half of Medvedev, and with him there at number 5 is Tsitsipas, and then at number 6 is Rune. So they are all in the same half of the draw. On the other side, the top seed there at number 2 is Novak Djokovic. He is a 3 or 4 time at this point defending champion at Wimbledon. And with him in this section is Rublev. Number 7, we have Casper Ruud at number 4. And we have Yannick Sinner at number 8. So those are your top seeds for the halves. And any initial impressions before we go into the nitty-gritty of the draw?
No,
anything that stood out to you?
1 and 2 seeds.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been the best players so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, I think the biggest thing that jumped out is that Sinner has actually a pretty decent draw. And I think he needed that because he's not been in a lot of form. And
some time to warm up.
Yeah, and he had that withdrawal from the match against Bublik, which he probably was on his way to lose anyway. But he needs to to really get his footing under him, before he's gonna make a deep run. And I think he has a pretty decent section there. So that's something that jumped out to me. The other thing is also Alcaraz avoided a lot of dangerous players, I think. Actually, in his section, there's a few players that he actually beat in queens. So that's nice.
Perfect.
That, he knows he's beat these players already on the grass. So that should be encouraging.
I do think de Minaur is a threat, though.
He is a threat. But it is
draw.
good that he already showed himself that he could beat him on the grass. One thing that was interesting to me was that, in Halle, it felt like there was a lot of dangerous players in grass that could have probably even been more dangerous for Alcaraz to face. Like, guys like Bublik, maybe even Zverev if he's on. Medvedev was in Halle as well. There was also Hurkacz, who reached either the quarterfinal or semifinals of Wimbledon before. Semifinals, right? Because he beat Federer.
Yeah, don't have to remind me.
Sorry for the flashback. A very painful flashback. So all of those guys were at Halle, and I actually was interested to see if any of them were going to land in the Alcaraz section, because those could have been dangerous guys to face. But he avoided all of them. Probably Jari might be the most dangerous one that he faces. I mean, Zverev is there, but it would be a fourth round match. So I think by the time he gets there, he could be playing himself into form already.
Or de Minaur. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think all in all, Alcaraz will take that draw. I think. And I think he could play himself into some good form before he gets to the quarterfinal stage. So those are those bigger picture things that stood out to me. But maybe let's go into each section now. So in the Alcaraz section, let's start there. So that quarter, it is the potential quarterfinal matchups would be Alcaraz against Rune. So those are the two top seeds in that section. And then some of the seeds that are here are Tiafoe. We have de Minaur, which we mentioned, Dimitrov, Zverev, Nicolas Jarry, and then we have, is Davidovich Fokina here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, and we have Arthur Fils in that section as one of the guys that might cause an upset. So it's somebody to look at as well.
What is he doing?
So Arthur Fils I think he's a wild card, is he?
Okay.
But I think he is somebody else apart from the seeds that we should be looking at. So Arthur Fils is a teenager. He's like, well, is he a teenager or is he 20 already? He's between 19 or 20.
I don't know.
But he is very hyped up as being the next big thing for France. And he has played very well this year, playing himself into the top 100 and then into the top, I think he got into the top maybe 60s. And he did it very, very fast. So he's somebody to watch. And I think he might be somebody who could take out Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, especially because he's not very, very good on grass. So those are kind of the guys that stand out to me to start with. There's also Nicolas Jarry that stand out to me as well, because he has a big serve, big forehand that could be good on grass. Now, he has been up and down on the grass in this sort of lead up. So I'm not really sure how his game will translate. I mean, he typically does well in fast clay courts. So I don't know if that's going to translate or not, but he's up there in the sort of Alcaraz little section. Anything else that stands out to you from here?
I mean, Berrettini used to be good, but right now is not looking great, right? So
yeah, we saw Berrettini come back, and that first match back was painful to watch. He ended in tears from the tournament.
Yeah.
I think he got hurt again, like his first match back. And honestly, we saw a similar thing happen with Kyrgios.
Right, yeah.
Similar thing happened with him.
I mean, he was, finalist last year.
So both of these guys, I mean, Berrettini and Kyrgios, those are the last two runner-ups at Wimbledon. They might be non-factors this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see, but yeah, Berrettini is in that section as well. But yeah, I think Jerry could be dangerous in this section. I think Zverev, if he can find his game, but Tiafoe might be the guy to look out. I think Tiafoe has really good game for grass.
Mm-hmm.
He himself has said that he honestly cannot wait till the clay is over so that he can start playing on grass. And I think his serve is a really good weapon for the grass. So that might be interesting. So maybe let's go to the other section. Well, before we do that, do we think Rune has a chance to hold seed, or do you think he's going to be upset before he gets to that quarterfinal? We saw him a little bit in Queens, right? He got to the semis, which is a good result.
I could take him out.
Yeah. But it's tough to say because he never won a match on grass before this tournament in Queens. He got to the semis, looked pretty well doing it, but then he didn't look great against Diminar, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think he was all right against Diminar.
Yeah.
I saw some of his highlights. Diminar was actually playing great tennis.
Yeah.
So maybe if he gets, better as the tournament progresses, he might have a shot.
Yeah.
But
it's the kind of thing that we just have to wait and see
too,
because we don't have a lot of history of watching him play on grass. So let's see what happens with him. But that's an interesting one to keep an eye out. But yeah, that potential quarterfinal could be Rune and Alcaraz if seeds hold. On the bottom, we have Stefanos Tsitsipas and Medvedev as the potential matchup that could happen there in the in the quarterfinal.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we think about that? Do you think those guys are gonna hold seed?
I think maybe Medvedev has a chance. I don't know about Tsitsipas. I'm kind of hesitant to put him up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tsitsipas has not looked well. I think he's maybe 1-2 or 1-3 this season on the grass. Not very inspiring. He was the defending champion in Mallorca, and he did not look good there in that loss that he had there. And he's in an interesting little section there. He's drawing as a first round match Dominic Thiem. I mean, Thiem has also not been great on grass in his career, and he's been awful since his return. So I think Tsitsipas might make it through that one, but he could face Andy Murray in the next round.
Yeah, that might be tricky.
That might be where he loses, honestly.
Yeah, actually, I think Andy has a pretty decent draw.
Yeah.
Which is Wimbledon has granted him a nice little draw there.
Yeah, exactly. A little local home field advantage.
But I'm actually excited to see him play at Wimbledon again. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I
mean, he's won the thing, so.
It's funny because we saw him win the 2 challenger events. Like he won 10 matches in a row.
I saw this, yeah.
Lost in the first round of the first tour level event, but he lost to Diminar.
Yeah.
So that loss aged very well.
Yeah, and Diminar played amazing.
Yeah.
So I actually think he I've been following him on social media a little bit, and he's like, I want to be, ready to play Wimbledon,
Yeah.
And although this may seem like a setback, which, like you said, aged very well against Diminar, I think his game is pretty high level on grass. I mean, he obviously knows how to play.
The thing is, he has the thing that a lot of these players in this section don't have, which is experience.
Experience and home court advantage. People are going to be rooting for him. He's going to have a nice royal box there for him. But, I'm excited. It'll be fun to see him.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout there.
And he's playing another person from Great Britain first round, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Ryan Pennington. Pennington could be tricky, but I think he'll be fine there. So maybe let's go through the seeds here. So we talked about Francisco Cerundolo. He's in this section. And some other seeds that we have. Talon Griesport, he's also a winner of a tournament in this grass court season, and he's pretty good on grass.
He has a big serve, right?
Yeah, so he is somebody to watch. Could be somebody that could upset Medvedev. So that's something to look at. But yeah, so we have Griekspoor there. We have Cerundolo. We also have Tommy Paul and Cam Norrie as seeds in this section. We also have Ben Shelton, who you think that with his game style, he could do some damage on this surface.
Big game.
Depending on how well he moves. I haven't seen too much of him to see how comfortable he's looking, but I think he'll eventually be very good on this surface. Another big guy here is Sebastian Korda, and I am very high on him. He played Alcaraz and Queens, and unfortunately did not play very well there. Apparently he's a little bit injured again, so that is the one thing with Korda. He's been injured a lot this year, and in general in his career, that's something that's been recurring. But he has the game to be very dangerous on grass. So I think he could go far, honestly, in this section. And this section here is a section of opportunity, I would say. So there's a ton of guys that could come out of here and maybe a surprise semifinalist.
Yeah. There's going to possibly be some upsets here, I think.
Yeah. Another guy that I want to shout out here is Christopher Eubanks. He's in this section. He actually just won a title today. And this guy, he's like 27 years old, and he had never been like super high ranked. He broke through to the top 100 in Miami this year. He had a deep run there. And I think we talked about that when we had that episode in Miami. And he didn't even realize that he was breaking the top 100 when he won that match in Miami. And it was a great moment to see him. I think he just collapsed in excitement, and he couldn't believe it, what he had achieved. And now winning this title, he's now going to be, I want to say, in the top 50 now with that result. So
that's great for him.
That is huge, because if you're in the top 50, that means that you don't even have to qualify anymore for Grand Slams, and that is gigantic. So that is honestly, that's life-changing for a guy like him that, you play a first round on a Grand Slam, you're making a bunch of money. So that's huge.
Tall guy.
Tall guy.
6'7".
Yeah. Has a one-handed backhand. A very nice one, too. Big serve. So I think he, his backhand, although nice and pretty and stuff, it was a bit of a weakness for him, but it looks like he's improved it. So he can be somebody to watch out, having won this title on the grass. He could face Cam Norrie in the second round. So that could be something. Maybe he could actually upset Norrie. I mean, Norrie is a Wimbledon semifinalist from last year, so he's pretty good on grass, but he hasn't been great recently. He's had a good year as a whole when you take the entire year, but his clay court season was not great at all.
He was playing great in the first part of the year.
He was, yeah. So interesting to see there. Another guy with note here, Milos Raonic.
Where did he come from?
Where did this guy come from? I thought he was retired.
Where is he trading these days?
So somehow Milos Raonic is not retired and playing tennis.
I mean, he looks like he didn't have to qualify or anything. So
he must have been a wild card,
no,
right?
he's not.
There isn't a W there next to his name, but he absolutely is not ranked high enough to be there. So he has to be a wild card. They just maybe didn't put it in the protected ranking or something. Oh, it's something weird. He's definitely not high enough to be there. But he is a former Wimbledon, was it finalist? He lost to Andy Murray, right, in the final.
Hold on, he went really far. The final 2016.
Yeah, he lost to Murray, I think.
Yep, Murray.
Andy Murray, yeah.
Yeah.
So he,
he's great
in this section with a bunch of people that don't have a ton of experience.
He's 840 in the world. So
hey,
I don't understand these rankings.
Maybe we'll have a Murray against Raonic quarterfinal, like the old days.
Throwback.
So that's something that sort of jumped out to me here in this section.
What about Vesely?
Vesely is a guy that appears once every 2 years and then just disappears.
I think it's been 2 years.
Yeah. The biggest thing that he did was that he went that crazy run in Doha. He beat
Yeah, I
Djokovic
know, I
and
know.
then beat a bunch.
I just remember his huge serves.
Yeah.
And so,
That's bombs.
yeah, Korda has something coming for him.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Exactly. Be careful. No, but I think
Yeah,
he's not
fine,
gonna do too
fine.
much here.
Oh, and another person, Cressy. What about Cressy?
Yeah, Chrissy hasn't been great this year.
Okay.
I was kind of excited about him because he was like a serve volley guy and just a little, something different to see.
Yeah,
But
you were really excited about it.
I was, but he's been awful this year. So I think he lost like 8 matches in a row at one point. It's been terrible.
I guess that'll do it.
But he is in this section, so I guess somebody to note. But yeah, I think that wraps up this section of the draw. Maybe let's go to the bottom half, and let's start with the section where Sinner is. Actually, no, let's start with the section where Djokovic is in.
Okay, it's the bottom half.
You know, I've seen a few people say that Djokovic had a pretty easy draw. Honestly, I feel like it's not. Like, it's not terrible because Djokovic is Djokovic and he can beat anybody. But he could have definitely had a better run of players to face. I think Rusevori could be tricky in the third round. I think Hurkacz could be tricky. I think Bublik could be somebody tricky for the quarterfinals. Compared to, say, facing a Shapo or RBA or even Fritz, who's been kind of out of form recently. Honestly, Bublik seems like a more dangerous player to face in the quarterfinal.
I mean, Sinner's quarter seems much better.
Yeah, I like Sinner's quarter a lot.
Yeah.
I would have said Fritz is a pretty rough draw in the fourth round, but I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Fritz doesn't even make that match the way he's playing and recently in the grass. So we'll see. But yeah, let's go into the Djokovic part. So Djokovic is the top seed there. He's drawn in the potential quarterfinal with Rublev, who also made the final in Halle. He's been playing pretty good on the grass. Apart from that, we have Bublik, who actually got ranked because he won Halle. So he wasn't even ranked coming into this.
Good stuff.
But he is ranked 23rd there. There's also Nick Kyrgios in this section, which is interesting because he generally would be somebody we would focus on. But like we said, he's been really injured this year, going through a lot.
Didn't he say something like, if there was anyone who's going to beat Djokovic on grass, it was him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said.
I mean, he said those things, but not this year. Definitely not this year.
Okay.
Because honestly, he's not played. We haven't seen him in
we haven't.
one tournament, and he had to. Well, he finished it, but it was awful.
Yeah, he's been having knee issues. Seems like he's still recovering.
Yeah, still working through that. So he's in this section as a seed. Another guy has been struggling a lot has been Felix Auger-Aliassime. He's also in this section as the number 11 seed, and he's probably one of the biggest disappointments of this year, isn't he, Felix? Like, we have not talked about him at all this year, and we were like very high on him last year, especially at the end of the year when he won 3 tournaments in a row. And this year is nothing.
A non-factor.
He's been injured a little bit, so I guess we got to cut him some slack there, but he really needs to get going. But the grass is the place where he could get going.
Yeah.
So he's going to be somebody interesting to watch in this section. Apart from him, there's also Lorenzo Musetti, who actually had a pretty good showing on the grass, right? More better than I thought. So he could be somebody that maybe goes a little further. And we have also Hubie Hurkacz in this section. And the other seed as well is Tomas Martin Echeverry, who's been having a really good season in general, especially on the clay season. And that's why he is ranked, because he had really good success, both in the Challenger and the main tour levels. So those are the seeds there. From the seeds there, anything that stands out to you as somebody to watch?
But I'd say Bublik.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was playing great. For thinking about form in the past few weeks, be him.
Exactly. He's playing McDonald in the first round, so maybe McDonald's going to keep that curse alive. We'll see if he's able to. But apart from that, I doubt that.
Yeah.
I doubt that that's happening. But yeah, I think he's probably the biggest guy to look at in terms of the seeds here, as a potential threat to Djokovic. But all in all, I think these are all dangerous players that are in this group, in this section here. But it's just hard to see anybody beating Djokovic, honestly.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think we have some interesting non-seeds. We have John Isner.
I'll say, yeah. When we're talking about non-seeds, Wawrinka.
We have Wawrinka. Exactly.
If he can get past the Ruusuvuori match, it'll be interesting to see a third round potential Djokovic-Wawrinka match.
Exactly. I would love to
be
see
interesting.
that. Yeah, I think those are two of the bigger unranked guys to watch. I think Ruusuvuori as well, who is, like you said, is playing Wawrinka, are two guys or a few guys to watch there, right? Isner. I think those are the bigger ones. Yeah, those are the bigger ones. Well, actually, David Goffin as well is somebody to watch. He's playing Nick Kyrgios in the first round. He might take him out.
I think so.
Goffin is a former Wimbledon semifinalist, and he's reached the quarterfinals a few times, if memory serves. So I think he's not a guy that Kyrgios would want to face in this state, right? So he's somebody to watch as well in this section. And maybe let's finish with the center section.
I'll mention you mentioned Isner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I'm not gonna mention Aslan Karatsev.
Yeah, he's there, but
yeah,
I don't think he's gonna do much here.
That was the clay season.
That was the clay season, exactly.
It's a different world now.
It is a different world. Okay, so the center section, which I'm calling that because there's no way that you can tell. You could call this a root section if it's on grass. So this is the center section. We have Casper Ruud and Sinner as the potential quarterfinal matchup. Some of the other seeds here, Dan Evans, pretty good grass court player, but he's been really out of form recently. We have Nishioka as well. Taylor Fritz, Borna Coric, who actually has been having a pretty good year. But he's not that great on grass from what I remember. We have RBA, who actually is pretty good on grass. Shapovalov, Wimbledon semifinalist as well.
Yeah.
But somebody who's been really up and down. He's been better recently, but still not to the level that we would expect from him. So those are the seeds. Anything jump out to you?
Yeah, no, I mean, RBA is a factor. I think he could be. If he's playing well.
Yeah. He's always very consistent.
He's very consistent, and he moves well on grass.
Yeah.
Which is surprising for someone from, like, I keep thinking he's a clay court player, but he's an all-around player. So
he's actually clay court is actually his worst surface.
I know you mentioned this last time
he's
on
not,
the podcast.
He's not like I mean, typically
I
Spaniards.
think of him as a clay courter, but he's really good on the hard courts.
Honestly, he's good everywhere.
Yeah, he's good everywhere.
He's a really good player, like all surface player. It's similar to Carreño Busta. He's the same way. I don't know how good he is on grass, but he's definitely better on hard courts than clay.
Yeah. Where is he? I haven't seen him.
He's been hurt a lot, I think.
No.
Yeah, that's why we haven't seen it. He's only played like a few matches this year. Okay. So, but yeah, all in all, to me, I think Sinner has a pretty decent draw.
Yeah.
He could play. So he's playing the worst Cerundolo, I guess. The brother of Francisco. He's playing Juan Manuel Cerundolo on the wrong surface for him because Cerundolo is definitely a clay court.
Actually, I saw Lloyd Harris. Lloyd Harris, he's pretty good on.
He is good on grass. He's been hurt and out of form.
No, he had a close match.
Yeah, recently he's played better. He played pretty good on the warm-up events, but in general he's been pretty. He's been hurt and not playing a lot. before, but this is where he could shine.
Yeah.
So he's somebody to watch. You're right. But yeah, all in all, I like the draw. I mean, Kuzmanovic or Schwartzman as a second round for center.
Yeah.
Terrific draw.
For him.
And then Evans is probably the best player he could face in the third round. And Evans has been pretty out of form recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I think center is pretty much a shoo-in by default to make the fourth round.
It's great.
Which is great for him. And by then, maybe he got some form.
Form, exactly. And the surface will play a little differently by then. So
yeah. Okay. You want to go into predictions?
Yeah. Is there anyone that's standing out outside of those outside of the seeds in that quarter?
Probably the biggest one that is not seeded. I would say Yannick Hanfmann had a pretty good grass season, and he's playing Taylor Fritz in the first round, so that could be a potential upset.
Okay.
Apart from that, maybe Oscar Alta could be somebody who's dangerous, but not anybody else, honestly. I mean, Schwartzman, like I mentioned, is there, but he's not, in my mind, he's not really a threat on grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you? Anybody else?
No, I think you picked the right people. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Predictions?
All right, let's do it.
You want to start or you want me to start? I'm ready if you want me to start.
Go for it.
Okay. So, my quarterfinalists. Let's start with the top half, the Carlos Alcaraz section. Quarterfinalists, Alcaraz. I have him beating Diminar to make the quarterfinal. I have Tiafoe beating Rune in the round 16 to make the quarterfinal. I have Medvedev making the quarterfinal. I think he could be in danger earlier, but some of the players that he drew, it could have been worse. So I think just by sheer talent and by the year that he's having, I think he'll find a way to make the quarterfinal. I like Sebastian Korda to make the quarterfinal if he's healthy. It's a big if, right?
Yeah.
Because he was hurt in that match against Alcaraz and Queens, but if he recovers well, I like him to make the quarterfinal. So those are my quarterfinalists in the top: Alcaraz, Tiafoe, Medvedev, Korda. Bottom half, I have Fritz here, but I'm gonna say Sinner. Actually,
okay.
I'm gonna say Sinner. He's gonna make the quarterfinal. Against RBA, I have RBA as well in the quarters.
Interesting.
I have Bublik.
Oh wow.
Making the quarterfinal. And obviously I have Djokovic as well.
Okay.
So for the semifinals, I have Sinner beating RBA. So I'll have Sinner. I'll have Djokovic beating Bublik.
Oh wow.
I'll have
Sinner, Djokovic.
Tiafoe beating Alcaraz.
Oh. What?
And I have Korda beating Medvedev.
Gosh.
So All-American semifinal.
Wow.
I like Korda winning that in a rematch from Queens, which Korda also won. I think Korda wins again. And I do like Djokovic against Sinner. And I like Djokovic to win the title.
Oof. Okay. That is, let's see if that happens. It'll be interesting.
How about you?
So this means Djokovic is up for the...
That means the calendar slam is on.
Calendar slam. Oh, boy. Okay, so for my quarters, I have Carlos Alcaraz playing Dimitrov. What? Dimitrov takes out Tiafoe. He's going to have one of those years where he beat Federer in the U.S. Open.
Look, Tiafoe is impossible to predict, so I would not be surprised as that happens.
Yeah. Because then he would have to beat David Fokina. So in the next round, or at least that's what I have him beating. And then I actually have Cerundolo playing Andy Murray in the quarterfinals.
Nice. That's a good pick. Honestly,
Yeah.
if Korda's not healthy, I think Murray can make that quarterfinal.
Mm-hmm.
I like his draw.
And then the bottom half, I have the exact same as you did in the quarters. So
Oh, yeah?
Yannick Sinner playing RBA, and then Bublik playing Djokovic.
Wait, who did you have again in the top half? Did you have
Dimitrov?
Alcaraz or
Yes,
Demonar?
I actually had Alcaraz.
Alcaraz, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough one,
Yeah.
actually.
You wanted to go Demonar.
I want to. I actually, yeah, maybe we'll still do it. And then I have in the semis Carlos Alcaraz playing Andy Murray.
Ooh.
And in the bottom, I have Yannick Sinner playing Djokovic. So, same.
Okay.
But I have Yannick Sinner beating Djokovic, and
Ooh.
that's a bit of revenge from the last time they played in Wimbledon.
He was close. He was the
He was so
closest
close.
to beat Djokovic
Yeah, I
in
know.
Wimbledon.
He's going to be hungry. And then, yeah, Yannick Sinner playing Alcaraz in the final. And I have Yannick Sinner winning the whole thing. And
Wow.
I'm really hoping Sinner doesn't let me down, which is a very high percentage. But
Yeah. The thing is that I want to
see.
believe he can do it, but the problem is
I'm going to believe until
he's losing a lot of the close matches and big matches. He's better this year. He's been beating top 10, top 5 caliber players more often than he used to. I mean, it was atrocious before, right? It was like 1 in like 11 or something like that. This year he's been about 500 against the top 5 and 10. So encouraging. But some of the losses that he's had,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
that Rune loss
questionable.
in Monte Carlo, very early loss in Roland Garros, the final loss against Medvedev. I'm starting to think that until I don't see him get over that hump against the top player.
This is it. This is the
This is it. This is the. I mean, if he beats Djokovic, forget winning the title. I mean, that's already like amazing.
No, he has to win the title afterwards if you're gonna beat Djokovic.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, he has the talent. Honestly, he does have the talent, but I think he needs to improve a little bit his mental game to get there. For me, but I mean, I have him as far as the semifinals, so who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what could happen? So we'll see. I have a very weird, very weird predictions here. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wrong in a lot of this.
Me too.
So
There's
we'll see.
always like some guaranteed upsets too. So yeah.
Yeah.
we'll
So
see.
I marked down before we go to the women's. I'm just going to mention these so that the listeners can be on the lookout. So there are some interesting first round matches to watch out for. Obviously, Sonego and Berrettini could be a competitive one just because Berrettini hasn't been that great, but he's typically good on grass. If he can be somewhat his former self, that could be a really good match. I think Tiafoe has to be careful in the first round against Yibing Wu. He has a big serve, big powerful game, which could, in theory, translate well to grass. So that's somebody that he can have trouble with. I think Fokina and Arthur Fils is going to be a good match. I actually have Fils beating Fokina as an upset there.
Ooh, interesting.
Greek Sport and Fucsovics could be good. Fucsovics is a former quarterfinalist, I want to say, at Wimbledon.
He's very good on
He's
grass.
good. He's very good on grass.
I picked Greek Sport, but
Greek Sport is
I'm
good
gonna
too
go
on
back.
grass.
Yeah, he's good too.
So that could be a really, really good first round match. A really fun one. Obviously, mostly for name recognition, the quality of tennis might not be that great, but Tsitsipas and Dominic Thiem. Are we still live?
We're getting back there.
We're getting back there.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. We had just some technical difficulties with the camera, but we're back. Dominic Thiem and Tsitsipas could be a good first round match in terms of just star quality. They're not. Quality of tennis itself might not be that great, but something to note. And the other matchups that I had here as potential good first round matchups, we touched about them a little bit. Emil Rusevori and Stan Wawrinka. That could be a fun one.
That's gonna be great.
I think that has 5 sets written all over it.
I hope not, because then
That'll be
then
tough for Stan
Wawrinka's
to
gonna
recover from. Yeah.
tank the next round. I hope he can get past it and then
Yeah.
maybe in 4. Because then Nakashima would be no, it's not Nakashima. Who does he play? Echeverry, possibly?
It would be Echeverry.
Yeah, that's still a tough match.
Winnable, I think, though.
But winnable,
because it's
yeah.
Echeverry's better on clay.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I think Hanfman and Fritz, obviously, it could be a good one in the first round there, because Hanfman has been having a good grass season, so that could be tough for Fritz. Goffin and Kyrgios.
Yeah,
it's a good one. And the other one that I marked here, I already mentioned it, was the Rusevori and Wawrinka. Yeah, so I think those are the best first round matches to watch. So listeners, if you have time, you should definitely catch those.
Yeah, and fill out the draw on the Fantasy League.
Absolutely. We both have filled it. I have to
TNS.
go in and make an edit before it closes. Both on the women's and the men's.
Which one are you editing?
A Sinner, actually. I had Sinner losing to Fritz, but I think that's not happening. And then I think last thing, I had a list of favorites and dark horses. You're going to tell me if you agree or not. Favorites, I think number 1, obviously Djokovic. I think number 2, kind of by default, just because he won Queens, I gotta say Alcaraz, because this year he's been the best win percentage wise. He's been the best player this year, and the fact that he came onto the grass, his worst surface, and he beat everybody, including good grass players, you gotta give him the nod for number 2. I still give Medvedev a 3rd spot, even though that I don't actually think that in terms of grass, but he's been having the 3rd best year, and there isn't that much standout people on grass, so I put him in as my number 3. Korda, my number 4, and then Tiafoe, my number 5, as favorites going in. So Sinner's not in my list, mostly because of the form recently.
Yeah.
But obviously, I have him going far. So
clearly, I'm not taking that into consideration.
Right. Dark horses, I think Bublik, we already know why. He just won Halle. He's very dangerous. Tommy Paul, Dimenar, Ben Shelton, and obviously Andy Murray as well.
I think definitely Murray and Dimenar.
Yeah.
Are huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dark horses.
I think those are guys to watch. Okay, let's shift gears.
I guess. Yeah.
And sorry?
I was gonna say Bublik too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said. Yeah.
Let's shift gears here and let's move on to the women. And I think let me start with general impressions. For me, when I saw this draw, I was like, wow, Iga just lucked out. That is the number 1 thing that I saw. She avoided everybody that could have been dangerous.
Yeah.
And not only in her quarter, but even in her half. Because obviously, the big question was, where was number 3 player Elena Rybakina going to land? In Iga's section or Sabalenka's section? Well, she landed in Sabalenka's section. So Iga instead has Pegula as the 4th, as the person leading in her half.
It's a big difference.
Big difference. And she has a great head-to-head against Pegula. So she lucked out. And then she also has as a potential quarterfinalist Coco Gauff. So she could not have better players in those positions. So that was the number 1 thing. Number 2 that I thought, holy crap, that there's a very loaded section in this draw.
It's very unfortunate too, actually, I find.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There's a lot of good players.
Rybakina's section is absolutely stacked. Yeah. With good players, if I would have made a list of favorites, contenders, just grass specific, probably every player that's in this draw would have been in my top 5. Yeah. Or in this section of the draw. So those are the 2 big things that stood out to me. But with that, let's maybe go into the different sections, and let's start with Iga's. So we'll start with the seeds. maybe actually to summarize what the potential quarterfinalists, the quarterfinal matchups could be. So by seed, it could be Iga against Jessica Pegula, or sorry, Coco Gauff.
Coco Gauff.
That could be the first quarterfinal. Pegula could face off with Caroline Garcia. So that's the top half there. And then on the other half, by seed, it would be Elena Rybakina and Ons Jabeur on a rematch of the Wimbledon final last year. That could be a potential quarterfinal. And finally, Sakkari against Sabalenka would be. So going into more in-depth Iga section, seeds here. We have Petra Martic. We have Magda Linette. We have Belinda Bencic, Derek Isakina, Victoria Azarenka, Elise Mertens, and Coco Gauff. Any initial thoughts with that?
This is a great draw for Iga.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. I think Iga really doesn't have that many dangerous players here in her section. First round, Lin Zhu. Second round, potentially could be 2 clay court players, really, and Sorribes Tormo and Trevisan. Maybe Harriet Dart could be dangerous for Bertova, but those players in the third round, I think she would love to see that. So I think that's a big win for Iga in this section here. Any names here that jump out? I think for me,
Kazatkina.
Of the unseeded, maybe Danielle Collins, but she's been really, really out of form.
I guess Venus is there, but
Venus is in this section.
Venus and
Svitolina,
which is a weird wild card situation for both of them.
Yeah, that is a tough first round match.
Yeah,
I marked it as one of my matches to watch, actually.
It'd be fun to see them,
because Svitolina actually had a terrific clay court season coming back, and Venus actually won her first match back playing against Camila Giorgi, which we talked about in our last episode. So that's an intriguing match there. It'll be interesting to see how far either of those two, whoever wins, can go. I think the other big name here that's not seeded would be Sofia Kenin, who's a Grand Slam champion. Not sure how well she can do on grass, and she drew Coco Gauff in the first round, so I don't think she's going to be of note based on where she landed, but she's there as well. But all in all, this section looks terrific for Iga. Bottom part of this draw here in the bottom quarter, so we have the Jessica Pegula, Caroline Garcia quarter. The other seats here are Mayer Sharif. We have Kinwin Jen, which I'm pretty high on, but not sure if I have a ton of belief in her in Wimbledon specifically. She should. I mean, she's tall and she has a great serve, but she's just not been playing that great recently. Samsonova is pretty dangerous on fast courts, so she's somebody to watch. Kudermetova is good on grass as well, so she's also someone to watch as a seed. Donna Vekic might be the biggest player that could benefit in this section. She's been great in general this year, went pretty far in Australia, and she got to that final against Kvitova on the grass to start the grass court season. She is somebody to really watch in this group. We also have Marie Buskova and obviously Caroline Garcia. So, yeah, I think Donna Vekic is the big player to watch out of these seeds for me.
Yep.
In particular. In terms of players that are not seated here that are worth noting, Leylah Fernandez is in this section.
That's what I was going to say.
She's there. We also have Sloane Stephens. I would say Kaya Kanepi is somebody to mention just because she has a weird kind of like troll type of situation where she plays a seed and she knocks them out. For some reason, she plays better against seeded players than actually people that are below her. So Veronika Kudermetova might be in trouble in that first round. But yeah, she has that weird little quirk there. And apart from that, I think Sinyakova has also been having a good grass court season. So she's somebody to watch as well. Anybody else that jumps out to you?
Well, I just question. I mean, how has Layla done on the grass before?
I don't think very well.
Really, it's strange because I feel like her game would translate.
Yeah.
Because she has a lot of touch shots. She's very crafty.
Yeah.
But
maybe lack of power.
Maybe that's it.
Like you can't find a way to like finish points on the grass or something. I don't know. I haven't seen her play on grass at all. Actually, I've only seen her play on clay and on hard courts.
Did she even play?
Which probably means that she hasn't done great on grass.
Let's see. Yeah, I think you're right.
She also Blinkova in the pre-tournament.
Yeah, this was in Hamburg.
Bad Hamburg. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she has had a ton of grass success. First round might be pretty fine for her, but second round could be Caroline Garcia. I think that's where it ends.
Gonna be.
Yeah. So yeah, Caroline Garcia could also go far here. I like her game for the grass. She's pretty good there.
You think she's gonna stand like way up on the service return?
She never does not do that. Like she's that's her MO no matter what.
Even on grass?
Even on grass.
Oh,
I think she'll still do it.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
But yeah, maybe we can anything else before we move on to preview the other part?
I think we're good here.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, in the bottom half here, the top seed is Sabalenka. Let's start with her section in the bottom. We'll leave the best for last.
Yeah, that one's stacked.
So we have Sabalenka against Zachary as the potential quarterfinal matchup. The other seeds here are notably Madison Keys, who just won a tournament on the grass, and she's won it for the second time in Eastbourne. Very dangerous opponent for anybody in this section. We have Anastasia Poropova, who's been really good this year. A little bit out of form recently, but I think in general she's had a very good year. Not sure how good she is on the grass, though. We have Barbora Krejcikova, who actually had a pretty decent start to the grass season. I think did she play a final against maybe Ostapenko, I want to say, in the same week that Petra Kvitova won a title?
She did get to the final.
I think she lost to Ostapenko there, and it was pretty competitive, I want to say.
Yeah, it was in Eastbourne. Oh, no, never mind. What happened here?
She did play
Ostapenko in the final. You're right, and Birmingham.
And what was the score? It was 7-6, 6-4. Yeah, so it was pretty competitive. And she is a Grand Slam champion, so she is definitely someone to watch there in terms of seeds. Ekaterina Alexandrova, very dangerous on a fast court. I mean, we saw what she did on the clay with her aggressive style of play in Madrid. So Alexandrova could be tough. We also have Irina Camelia Begu there, but I think the biggest seed for me that I'm watching in this section, apart from obviously the favorite in Sabalenka, is Karolina Mukova. She is the 16th seed. She's here as well. She jumped up in seed because of her French Open run. She went to the final there, and she played terrific, beating Sabalenka and playing Iga very tough. So she's someone to watch. Notably, she did not play at all on the grass season, so I'm not sure if she's trying to take a gamble there, try to be healthy and rested to start in, but that could be tough going in with no form at all.
I mean, she had a tough clay court season, right? I mean, didn't she have to play qualies?
Did she?
Or no, she didn't. Never mind.
I don't think so.
Maybe you're right. No, she didn't.
It is a little risky, but also she's had a history with injuries and stuff, so maybe giving her body a little bit of rest is probably the best thing for her. So she's somebody to watch from here. Out of the players that are not ranked in this section, I think Andreeva is a big name that I'm looking at. She's a youngster that has had quite a few good tournaments this year. She's like 16 or 17 years old, and she's already, creating waves. So that's somebody that I'm looking at in terms of not seeded players. Julia Neymeyer, actually, she was a quarterfinalist last year at Wimbledon.
Pretty good too.
She would be ranked if there were points at Wimbledon. So she is very dangerous, and she is with Karolina Mukova in that first round. So that's going to be a tough one. He's been out of form this year, though, with injuries and just not playing that great. But just somebody to mention. Also, Camila Giorgi is also a little dangerous in fast courts. So she's also in this section. I think that's pretty much it for this group here. But I think the biggest section of this tournament is the Elena Rybakina section, right? She's the number 3 seed. The potential quarterfinalist would be Jabeur with her there. The other seeds in this section, we have Angelina Kalinina, who she already played a pretty good grass season herself. We also have Karolina Pliskova, former Wimbledon finalist. We have Petra Kvitova, 2-time Wimbledon champion. Beatriz Haddad-Maia, who, granted, lost in the first round last year, but won 2 titles in a row on the grass before that. And this year also went pretty deep in one of the warm-up events. So, good grass court player in Haddad-Maia. Yelena Ostapenko, she won a title this year on the warm-up events on grass. Bernarda Pera might be the only non-good seed in this section. She's 27. How is she seeded?
I don't know.
We have not seen her.
No, she's done something.
What has she done? How is she seeded? This doesn't make any sense. We have literally not mentioned her once this year.
No, we haven't.
This is crazy.
She lost to Coco.
She must have gone far in some Grand Slam last year or something like that, or maybe in Australian this year or something.
She hasn't done much.
I have no idea.
Fourth round. She went to the 4th round of the French.
Okay, that's not bad.
Okay, quarters at Strasbourg. Yeah,
what has she
losing
done?
to Iga. Okay. Oh, okay. Wait, no, this is doubles. Oh, she's been playing a lot of doubles. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
What? How? How is she
done.
ranked? I don't get this. Is this a typo in this draw? Like, this does not make any sense. Anyhow, she is a seed in this section. And obviously Rybakina, number 3.
Yeah.
So every single player that I mentioned, apart from Pera, in this section is very good on grass.
Mm-hmm.
So this section is absolutely stacked with players. Even players that are not ranked that are pretty good here. I mean, we have Bianca Andreescu in this section.
Yep.
We have Snasnovic, who's been playing good on grass. Who did you say?
I said Cornet.
Cornet, who beat Iga last year on the grass in Wimbledon. Tatiana Maria, she's a Wimbledon semifinalist from last year. Kirstea, who could beat anybody when she's on, pretty much. She's beat Sabalenka twice this year.
Oh, wow.
That's a weird result there.
That's weird.
And we also have Katie Bolter, who also won a tournament on the grass this season. So, and Shelby Rogers, who's playing Rybakina in the first round. This section is absolutely stacked. That is the takeaway from this. So this is going to be a very tough one to predict because everybody here is great.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. With that, I think we can go into predictions. And we can start. I can start in the top half. Quarterfinalists. I got Iga. I got 3 people holding seeds. I have Iga holding seed. I got Goff holding seed. And I have Pegula holding seed. Even though I think Pegula could be in trouble with Samsonova or Siniakova in the previous round. But I think Pegula is going to edge it out just because of her consistency. And then the 4th player that I got is Donna Vekic. So I went against Garcia in the seeds, even though I like Garcia a lot. But I just think Vekic is probably the best player in this section on grass. So I got Vekic, Pegula, Goff, Iga. And the bottom half, this was very difficult.
Yeah.
I changed my picks like 3 times in here. But I ended up having Kvitova in the quarterfinal.
Wow.
I wanted to have Jabeur, but Jabeur has not inspired confidence for me in the grass season so far and in her season as a whole. So I got to go with Kvitova because she's a 2-time Wimbledon champion. She just won a tournament. She looks like she's in good form. So I went with her. I went with Rybakina to make the quarterfinal, but I have no confidence in that because I have no idea what her health is. So she could lose to either Katie Bolter in the 3rd round. I could see that happening. I could see her losing to Ostapenko in the 4th round or to Haddad Maia, whoever makes it from there. But in the end, she is the defending champion. She's the best player if she's healthy. So I'm going to put her in there. So she's a quarterfinalist for me. I have Madison Keys making the quarterfinal after her run. I just like her section of the draw.
Yeah, she has a pretty... I mean, she just has to get past like Zachary possibly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which on this surface,
is probably...
I back her to do it.
Yeah.
And my final quarterfinalist is Karolina Mukova. I really like her game for grass, and I hope she comes in not rusty. She does have a very tricky first round, so if she could, honestly, I think that's the most dangerous match. If she gets past that, I think she can beat Sabalenka in the 4th round. I think she can make the quarterfinal. Okay, semifinal predictions. I have Kvitova beating Rybakina, partly because I think Rybakina may not even make it there. So I just, as a whole, would bet on Kvitova getting to the semifinals if Rybakina's not healthy. So I got Kvitova. I got Mukova beating Keys. So semifinal is Kvitova against Mukova. I got Iga beating Coco Gauff. I got Vekic beating Pegula. For my final, I got Vekic beating Iga.
Oh, wow.
In the semis. And I got Mukova beating Kvitova.
Oh, my gosh.
And I got Mukova winning the title.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm all in.
Oh, wow. You're into the Mukova.
I am all into
hype.
the Mukova thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Just watch her lose first round to Julie Niemeyer and make me look like an idiot. Which could totally happen. But I don't know. I like it. I think she has a good section in which that she could get herself into form playing somebody like Sabalenka as her caliber, but she doesn't have to go through all these tough players like Kvitova or Rybakina would have to do. I'm expecting those to be very tough matches, and maybe by the time whoever wins that section gets to the semis, maybe they're going to be a little bit exhausted.
Okay.
So I'm going with that. I think Mukova. But honestly, who knows in Wimbledon what could happen.
Yeah.
We've seen crazy things happen before. What you say?
Okay. Well, I'll go with my predictions now.
Yeah.
So I actually have Iga not making it to the quarters.
Okay. Who she lose to?
Bencic coming through.
Okay.
Belinda Bencic. And she's going to play Kazatkina.
Okay.
And then I have Jessica Pegula playing Caroline Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And in the bottom, I have Petra Kvitova playing Rybakina, which might happen, might not. We'll see how Rybakina feels. And then Krejcikova playing Mukova.
Okay.
Which might not be the best form, but...
I mean, honestly, Keys can implode, and if she does...
implodes,
then Krejcikova can make it, for sure.
She has a pretty good opportunity there. And then the semis, I have Kazatkina beating Bencic and Caroline Garcia beating Pegula. So both of them are in. And Kvitova beating Rybakina and probably a crazy third set tiebreak.
Very likely.
And
that match could be 3 tiebreaks.
Actually, I just want to see that match, actually.
Yeah.
That'd be
I want that
amazing
match to happen.
Yeah. And then Krejcikova playing Mukova, I have Mukova winning that. And in the final, I have Garcia beating Kazatkina, as well as Petra Kvitova beating Mukova, which is a little different. And I have Kvitova coming back to win her third Wimbledon title.
That would be amazing.
That would be.
I think she can do it.
She has a chance, but let's see.
She has the game. She's done it before, and she's having a great year. I mean, she's
having an amazing year.
She won Miami this year, right?
Yeah. She won this last warm-up tournament.
She won this warm-up tournament. So the thing with Kvitova is that she sometimes she just doesn't show up, and the game is not there. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit of a risk to predict her, but if she's on, she can beat anybody. So yeah, I like those predictions from you. Hopefully between one of the two of us, we'll have something that makes sense.
Click
at the end. Yeah, I think I went kind of bold picking Vekic to make the final, but I like her game for grass.
She's great on grass. Yeah.
I like her game on grass. So
it's interesting how Iga is not gonna get there, but based on our predictions.
Yeah, I mean, Iga still has some ways to improve on grass, and I think the fact that I predicted her to even make the quarterfinal or semifinals is basically based on the draw. Yeah. If she would have been in a different section of the draw, I think she doesn't even make it there. Wow. But Iga's Iga, she might fight. Yeah, I mean, she looked good in this tournament that we saw.
She was moving better than I expected.
So I would be less surprised if she wins Wimbledon this year than I would have been before seeing her play in Bad Homburg. Nice. So, but I don't think she's a favorite. So, yeah, that's the Wimbledon preview.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun to talk. I'm super excited. I really, really do hope that if Djokovic wins this title, I hope that at least somebody challenges him. I want to see somebody put a big fight. Hopefully somebody like Sinner. Yeah, hopefully like Sinner. So that's the Wimbledon preview. Maybe let's wrap up with what's gonna be happening in our next show. So what we will do is we're gonna preview the semifinals. Whatever the semifinals end up being, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the quarterfinal results and just in general our impressions of the tournament so far. Mm-hmm. So that would be on July 12th. That would be a Wednesday, where it would be right before the women's semifinal action, which would be on Thursday, and the men's semifinals would be on Friday. So we will see everybody that day. And with that, we can wrap up the show.
Yeah, let's do that. If you like what you heard, please, subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app so you can receive all the new episodes as they come live. And we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and most other podcasting platforms. Leave us a rating, a review. We'd appreciate your feedback, to make this podcast the best it can be. And we're on Twitter and Reddit at Point by Point Pod, as well as on YouTube at Point by Point Tennis Podcast. And that wraps it up. We'll see you in the semifinals preview.
See you then.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.